All right, good evening. How's everyone tonight? I want to thank Kelly for waking everyone up. I want to thank the KCK Chamber of Commerce and everyone else involved in putting on this event. My name is Sean Shipp. I'm running for the 36th District, which is the Western Wyandotte County. I want to thank everyone here for coming out tonight. I know there's other things that you could be doing, but you want to be engaged in our community and in politics. So I appreciate you being here. You know, when I've been going door to door for the past several months, I've been hearing a lot of people in Wyandotte County asking for change. And I hope to be that candidate and that representative to bring that change to Wyandotte County. A little bit about myself. By profession, I'm a paralegal working in medical malpractice defense. I work a lot with doctors, hospital nurses, protecting them in lawsuits. By choice, I'm a loving husband, a father of 2 children, a stepfather to 2 children. My wife, Kristen, is a principal in the Turner School District. As a family, we enjoy just spending time together, whether that's outside playing hoops, playing board games. I even get to play PlayStation 3 with them. It's a great deal. Or going out to my wife's family farm, fishing and shooting, just having a good time. I also volunteer at the YMCA coaching soccer. I have one of my players out here. I see that he has left. I also do upward basketball. I sit on my law firm's volunteer committee where I participate in Habitat for Humanity, donating socks. I just dropped off over 200 pairs of socks to neighbor homeless shelter today, and working with wounded soldiers and helping food shelters. Thank you.
Representative Moore.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Wolf Moore, and I am your state legislator for the 36th District. First of all, I have to tell you that it's truly been an honor to represent Wyandotte County in the 36th District over the last 2 years. I'm so proud to represent Wyandotte County and Topeka because of all the success we've experienced over, well, about the last 15 years. I happen to think what's happened in Wyandotte County is nothing short of a miracle. And that's one of the reasons that I ran for the state legislature. I wanted to continue to be involved and do what I could from a state policy level to continue to help our community grow and succeed. Now, a little bit about me. I have lived in Wyandotte County all my life. I'm married. My husband, Ken Moore, is in the audience to support me. 2 of my daughters, Katie and Juliana, are here. Katie's a teacher. Juliana's a speech pathologist. I have a 3rd daughter. She goes to school at Kansas State in Manhattan, and I hear she has a test tomorrow, so I hope she's in the library tonight studying. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my qualifications to serve as your state legislature. Why am I qualified? Well, number one, I was educated I have an associate's degree from right here at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College. I have a bachelor's and a master's from the University of Kansas. I worked in local government. I worked for Carol Marinovich for 10 years and was proud to work on a lot of these projects in the western part of the community that have moved our community forward. I serve as a board member on the Wyandotte Economic Development Council, and that's the entity that helps bring new businesses to Wyandotte County and additionally helps retain businesses. I've been appointed to the Kansas State Advisory Commission on Aging, and I am currently the business director at the University of Kansas Hospital. It's just a pleasure to be here tonight.
Okay, we'll start with a question for Sean Shipp, the challenger. Have you taken part in any way in any kind of national, state, or local legislative process?
I have on several different areas. Locally, the superintendent of Piper Schools asked me to participate and be on the strategic planning committee. I proudly did that, provided my input on that. But also back in 2003, 2004, that time frame when the state was considering the expansion of gambling, I was asked to testify before the committee that was laying the foundation, the framework of the expansion of gambling. So in short answer is yes, I have participated. I also do make sure that when there are issues out there that I contact my representative, my state senator. On congressional issues, I contact our congressman and make sure that they hear the voices of Wyandotte County in the 36th District.
Representative Moore, could you tell us why you should continue to be the representative from the 36th District based on your accomplishments in the Kansas legislature?
Certainly. Thank you for the question. First of all, I think what you should expect out of your state representatives are a couple basic things. You have to have someone that will take the time and work hard to thoroughly research the issues and find out how they impact your community and then vote accordingly. So no matter what side of the political aisle the idea comes from. And second of all is something that I've really worked hard on. That's building relationships in the Kansas House of Representatives. And that is often overlooked. All you hear is these campaign platforms people promote when they're running for office as if they could do it single-handedly. Well, first of all, there's 125 members of the Kansas House. I am just one of those members. It doesn't matter if I have the best ideas and the best policies in the world for my community if I can't sell them to 62 other people, because it takes 63 votes to pass anything. So I have worked extremely hard to build relationships on both sides of the aisle and to get things accomplished, and I'll continue to do so.
Okay.
Thank you. This question will start with Representative Moore. What is your position on the Affordable Care Act? What do you support the state of Kansas doing with that, and especially in light of its effect on businesses?
Well, that's kind of a complicated question because most people probably know very little about the Affordable Care Act. Here's a few things I do know. Number one, there's a couple of positive things that I really do look forward to in the Affordable Care Act. One of those is it prohibits you from being canceled or not offered insurance because of pre-existing conditions. I don't know how many constituents I've talked to who have to pay massive amounts every month for private insurance because they cannot qualify because of pre-existing conditions they have. That's a terrible problem. The other thing that I do like about the Affordable Care Act is it allows children to stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26 years old. And the reason I think that's so important is because with the economy we've been suffering through, many kids graduate from college and unfortunately don't find full-time great paying jobs that also offer benefits. So this gives them a little room in order to have a few years to get a good job that has those benefits. But finally, I think one problem we're going to experience with that, it's going to put a lot more people into the system that previously haven't had health insurance. And while that is good that they have health insurance now, the problem is already across the state of Kansas, we don't have enough medical providers. So I think that's something that the Affordable Care Act probably didn't contemplate and we need to think about. We're going to have a lot more providers to deal with all the new people that will be ultimately in the system.
Mr. Shipp.
You know, I sat here earlier, as a lot of you did also, and I have a lot of great respect for Senator Haley, and he gave a very passionate speech about his being in favor of the Affordable Care Act, about how it will keep children on their family's policy until the age of 26, how pre-existing conditions will be covered, and it was very passionate. But the truth is, my job, my experience is working and talking to doctors on a daily basis. Being covered until you're 26 is a good idea. Having pre-existing conditions covered is a great idea. But the problem is with the Affordable Care Act is we will not have the doctors available to treat these people. So the short answer to the question is I do not support the Affordable Care Act. I support getting Mitt Romney into office and that we can we can pick out certain parts of the Affordable Care Act, like coverage until the age of 26 and pre-existing coverage, but we don't need to throw out the whole system to focus on those areas and to allow those ideas to move forward. Thank you.
Wyandotte County has been extremely successful in expanding or bringing new businesses and jobs through the use of economic incentives such as STAR bonds, PEAK, HPIP, and other programs. Where do you stand on these particular incentives? And we'll start with Sean Shipp.
You know, I sit here with my opponent, and she was Mayor Marinovich's right-hand man during the time period when those STAR bonds were first being applied. And, you know, to be honest, it did kickstart economic development in Wyandotte County, western Wyandotte County specifically. But as Senator Haley, and I don't want to say this too often, and I really won't say this too often, is we actually see eye to eye on some of these points in STAR bonds. You know, we need to take care of our communities, and when we give away our tax dollars to corporations, we're neglecting our inner cities these days. And so it's a double-edged sword because it has provided economic development, but we need to make sure we focus on true economic development nowadays instead of giving large tax breaks to corporations. As we mentioned earlier, a large percentage of businesses in Wyandotte County and the state of Kansas are small businesses and not large corporations, and we need to focus on our small businesses.
Thank you. Representative Moore, your views on these incentives.
Thank you very much. Well, I absolutely did support the use of STAR bonds on the western end in this community. And if you go back about 15 years ago, there was development all around us. There was development to the south of us in Johnson County. There was development to the north in Northland. But there was a big donut hole in Wyandotte County where absolutely no development was occurring. So it absolutely took a powerful incentive to create that development out here. And look at the result right now, 10 million visitors annually to the new entertainment district, the Legends, Village West, the soccer park. In addition to that, 11.5 million in new property taxes coming in. And actually how STAR bonds work is that the sales tax created at these new establishments is what pays for the STAR bonds. So it's at no risk to the taxpayers. I supported HPIP. I did not support the PEAK program because I believe it was Representative Burrows who talked about it earlier. What happens with PEAK is we just incentivize companies to move right across the state line from one state to the other. And we don't really gain new jobs because these employees just drive across the state line to their new businesses. So I believe in a metropolitan area, PEAK really doesn't work, but I fully support STAR bonds.
Thank you. Representative Moore, we'll start with you.
Okay.
A bit of a follow-up to a similar question. What else would you suggest we use as an economic development tool to support small business development in older parts of the community?
That's a great question. I serve on the Wyandotte Economic Development Council I mentioned, and that's the entity that tries to attract new businesses, small businesses, as well as large, and also retain businesses. And one of the things that our president CEO, Greg Kindle, tells us is that we have a lot of very specialized small businesses that have trouble recruiting very specialized and trade workers. For example, we're having trouble finding welders, forklift drivers. So what I supported at the legislative level was tax incentives for tech programs and also increased funding for technical education programs and also tax incentive for apprenticeship programs. That's kind of a win-win. The business gets the tax incentive, but the student gets the apprenticeship program that allows them to be trained to then go on to get a great job.
Mr. Shipp?
repeat the
Sure.
question again?
It's a bit of a follow-up to the previous question about incentives. What other kinds of incentives would you suggest as a legislator and push forward in Topeka to do to support small business development in older parts of the community?
Well, first of all, I really don't like the word incentives. The fact of the matter is, in Wyandotte County is, and I just checked this earlier today, unemployment rate is still above 12 or 10% in Wyandotte County. It's above the state average, it's above the national average. But number two, a large majority of jobs in Wyandotte County are service and goods and service oriented, from GM to Associated Wholesale Grocers, to several of the individuals I've met this summer, like Mark McEachran, who owns a small garage door company, to Tim at Parkway Auto, to the Legends. I personally know what it's like to be in the service sector industry. For 3 years, I supported my family working at Granite City Food and Brewery out in Legend. What these people need are jobs, and they need more money in their pocket. That's why I don't really like the word incentives, but I support Governor Brownback's income tax reduction. The only thing that I would fight for against my own party would be lowering the tax rate from the lower income level. I don't believe they went far enough in doing that, but we need to provide these people with jobs. My neighbor just lost their home. He's been out of work for over a year. These people need jobs, and this is a common thing that I've experienced going door to door. People are without jobs and they're losing their homes, and we need to not let that happen any longer.
This question we'll start with Sean Shipp. In 2013, a new law will take effect in Kansas that will eliminate a substantial portion of income tax for certain businesses, particularly smaller businesses. So the supply side economists believe that this is going to put more money into circulation and help the general economy. Others believe it will not work, that it's too severe, that it changes basic Kansas tax policy, and a shortfall will result. What is your position on the new tax law?
I absolutely do not agree with the premise that it will not work. Like I just mentioned, I believe that it will work. The large majority of Wyandotte County jobs are small businesses and service sector jobs. We need to provide people with more income. Under the current tax plan that will be in effect in 2013, the average Wyandotte County resident and family will have over $1,000 more money in their pockets to spend. Like I said, at Tim and Mark's businesses, you know, they've been putting off these repairs because they can't afford it. They'll have more money in their pockets to help pay their bills and keep their homes. The tax plan that Governor Brownback and the state has proposed will provide over $102 billion in disposable income for the year 2013 and increase higher over the next several years.
Okay, Representative Moore, your views on this?
I serve on the tax committee in the state legislature. I absolutely did not support this tax plan, and I voted against it. The cut was too severe. It's going to create a very deep hole. And I think someone explained it before. Basically, there are three sources of revenue. There's property tax, there's sales tax, and there's income tax. And when you reduce one significantly, you put pressure to increase the others. Now, the last thing we need to do is increase our sales and our property tax. And I'll tell you why. We're in a metropolitan community. We now have a very robust shopping center in our western end. If we continue to increase sales tax, we're going to push those people to the Missouri side for their goods and their purchases, and we're going to put our development at risk. We certainly can't increase property taxes. We've got to do everything we can to bring property taxes down in Wyandotte County so housing starts will continue to flourish. So what this tax plan was based on the fact that if you cut enough, you'll increase jobs. But for this to balance out, we'd have to create over 400,000 jobs in the next year. That hasn't been happening, and it's just not going to happen. So I think we're going to be left with a huge hole, and we're going to be faced with cutting some of the things that are very important to us in Wyandotte County, and that's our schools, and increased pressure on the locals to fund the schools with property taxes.
Representative Moore, this is a follow-up. One of the fears of the new law is that the revenue shortfalls will just be pushed back to the local government level, or by asking local municipalities to provide services that the state had previously provided in the past. How can you protect the cities and counties you represent as a legislator if this were to be asked of you?
I think there's only one way to protect the cities and counties, and we have to revisit that tax plan next year. The cuts are too severe. We are going to put so many services in our schools at risk. So I think there's really only one way to do that. We have to revisit that, and I certainly hope that we do.
Sean Shipp?
Will you repeat the question one
Sure.
more time?
One of the fears being talked about around the new law for income tax is that revenue shortfalls, should they occur, will push off onto local governments costs and also ask local governments to provide services that the state previously had been able to provide. And the question really is, how will you protect cities and county governments should you be asked to push a cost or a service that the state previously had paid for onto a city or county government?
I think the key part that I picked up on part of your question was, should revenues fall? And I don't agree that they will. I think revenues will increase, as Steve Fitzgerald mentioned. States like Indiana had increased revenue when they lowered tax rates. So I do not agree with that premise that revenues will fall. But most importantly, the other part of the question is how to deal with the shifting of the burden from the state to the local government. And it doesn't include the fact that you will reduce, by providing lower income rates, you create more jobs, you reduce the need for those services. And so that the whole premise of the question is just way off.
Thank you. This question will start with Sean Shipp. We have an opportunity, certainly in Wyandotte County, to take advantage of housing opportunities, particularly with the influx of employees, 4,000 or more, that will come here to work for Cerner and related industries. Our stock of new housing is very short. Would you be in favor of tax relief for developers and builders that would allow them a lower tax rate when they put up spec homes? And that would take state legislation.
The short answer is yes, I do support more development. But I think the more important issue is I mentioned earlier, when I've been going door to door, I've seen a lot of empty homes. I've seen a lot of houses, like my neighbor's houses. There's probably 3 or 4, and I live off 123rd Street. We're not talking about the Eastern District. I see a lot of empty homes. I see a lot of empty homes off of 80th Street in that area. We need to find ways to provide incentives to have people fill those homes before we start worrying about making new homes that we can't fill.
Okay. Representative Moore?
Thank you. Yes, I would support that, and I think someone mentioned it previously, the Unified Government, the Board of Public Utilities right now is contemplating doing something to reduce fees on builders that will complete existing neighborhoods. And not only do you get more housing stock through that, but you make those neighborhoods that were sort of half done, you allow them to thrive and become successful neighborhoods. And I want to also mention that I absolutely agree. This Cerner development project is a fabulous opportunity for Kansas City, Kansas. Already, just because of the 4,000 jobs, there have been 3 luxury apartment builders that are coming and building in western Wyandotte County. Now that gives us a unique opportunity to capture these people. They're going to work at Cerner, that will live in these apartments, and hopefully then we can convert them to homeowners in Wyandotte County. And to do that, to convert them to homeowners, I think we have to focus on two important things. We have to have excellent schools, because everyone knows when you go to purchase a home, the first thing you look at is schools. So we have to put funding into our schools. And number two, we have to continue to work on our property tax rate, because that's the other thing people look at. So the most important things, I think, for Wyandotte County right now are continue to focus on and fund our schools, and also to work on our property tax rate at the local level and at the state level.
Thank you both for your responses this evening. We now move into the closing statements. Representative Moore, you will go first, if you will, please. Mr. Shipp, you will follow.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our views. I know everyone has other things they could be doing this evening, so I truly appreciate it. I just want you to know how much I have appreciated representing you and how seriously I take this commitment. It's quite humbling to think that I'm your representative in Topeka and you trust me to do the right thing on your behalf. And I can't tell you how important that is to me. I'd also like to tell you a little bit, if you allow me, about some of my endorsements, because I'm very proud of the organizations and the groups that are supporting me. I've been endorsed by the Kansas City Star, and they endorse me as a hardworking and effective freshman legislator who is willing to work across the aisle. I've been proud to be endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Firefighters Club 64, the Tri-County Labor Council, the Kansas National Education Association, Citizens for Higher Education, Families for Education, Economic Lifelines as a pro-job legislator, the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, and also I was recently selected as the Kansas Public Official of the Year by the Kansas Association of Mental Health Centers. This has truly been an honor. I enjoy this work. I'd like to continue this work. And while all these endorsements are very important to me, what I'd ask for you tonight is your endorsement and your vote on November 6th. And thank you so very much.
Mr. Shipp.
Once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank Representative Moore for being here. I do want to recognize her. I don't think you mentioned it. I read recently you had like a perfect attendance or something to that fact, and I do want to recognize that, because Wyandotte County truly does need representation in the House. But I feel like I'm that person that would do that. For far too long, Wyandotte County has not had someone at the decision-making table. When decisions are being made, and whether you like it or not, the state of Kansas has a large majority of Republicans. We need a Republican there that will fight for Wyandotte County and let their voices be heard. Whether I agree with my party or not, they need to know about that. But I'm also in this race for several individuals that I have talked to who have told me personally that my opponent, even though she has been there and been at the State House at perfect attendance record, that she has not listened to their needs. They have called her personally on several occasions, and she has not responded to them. I'm thinking about a Brent Thompson who called her, given her advice on Second Amendment issues, and she did not respond to him. I'm talking to the Greg Smiths that I believe that's his name. Can't remember his name now. Greg Mills, I'm sorry, who recently talked to me about his aging mother who was having problems with a healthcare issue. And my opponent, who sits on the board, the Committee of Aging, and he did not respond to her. We need someone who will represent the people of Wyandotte County in the 36th District. And I hope that I am that person. I will listen to everyone's needs. I will get back to them. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.